I appreciate you both coming, especially at the same time. I think it maybe there's benefits of having you do it separately and together, but I think because there's not really a public forum where you're both going to be together between now and the elections, this will work out well for our readers, I hope. So we have a video camera just to kind of augment our coverage. We may use all of it online. We may just use some of it, but everything that we talk about is on the record. And you know, I kind of see this, like I said, as a stand-in for having a forum where we're inviting people to it, which we weren't sure we could put together by election day. So. Basically, we have a number of questions. I'm going to ask the questions that Shannon and Michael and I kind of have highlighted as some of the issues we want to discuss. We'll probably start out just with our alphabetical order and go back and forth. So you answer two questions in a row, and then the other person will respond, and we'll take it from there. I don't really have any time limits. I'm not timing your answers. I guess you know, keep it within reason, I guess I would say. So I'm not sure if people are going to watch 10-minute answers from either of you. No offense to either of you, but
I would hope they wouldn't.
So there'll just be a variety of different questions, and Shannon is going to be the reporterized story from this that we hope to publish no later than Wednesday. And we're already pushing into the election day a little bit, but it'll be no later than Wednesday. I would guess it would run on Wednesday with some, like I said, some augmented coverage online, I think that's all I really need to start. Is there you have any questions about how we're going to do it, or she also take a couple pictures, just random, so just so we can have something with a little bit of action in it. So,
Should we pose?
Yeah.
no, I wanted to have you know, put your arm around it. Yeah.
You're welcome to sit a little closer.
I sat where the chair was.
So we'll get started here, and like I said, we'll hope to keep this around an hour or so, but if we go a little longer, I hope that's all right. We'll start with Mr. Henney, and these questions, almost all the questions will be for both of you. There might be a couple at the end that maybe just be more targeted to one or the other, but Mr. Henney, why don't we start out just with telling us a little bit about your background and what makes you a better candidate to be judge?
Well, I don't like to say I'm a better candidate for judge. I like to say I'm a good candidate for judge. I was born and raised in Portage, Wisconsin. I lived here my whole life, except for the periods of time that I was away at school. I've practiced law here for going on 34 years now. My practice has been a general practice in that I haven't specialized in any particular field of law. I've done a great deal of criminal defense work. I did a fair amount of criminal prosecution when I was Columbia County District Attorney. But I also have handled hundreds of divorce cases. I've got extensive jury trial experience, somewhere in the neighborhood of 50 jury trials. Probably 30 of those, 35 have been criminal cases, the others civil cases. I've pretty much, in the course of 34 years, had to educate myself to do a lot of different sort of things in court and in administrative proceedings. So I think I've got a very broad and deep background in the law, and I had the good fortune early in my career to be mentored by some pretty talented attorneys, and I hope they taught me some decent skills, and I hope I've been able to use those to my client's advantage.
Mr. Witt?
Actually, Tim and I have very similar histories in a lot of ways. I too was born and raised in Portage. The only times I was gone also was for school-related purposes. I have been back from law school now for more than a decade. Have been practicing with Miller and Miller. Essentially moved into Judge Miller's seat after he was elected. There was a nice warm chair at Miller and Miller, and have been there ever since. My practice, as many in small towns are, it is general in nature. I have a pretty wide variety of experience as well, although certainly the focus of my practice has been on municipal work and work on behalf of those who are unable to represent themselves as their guardian ad litem. I've been the city attorney here in Portage since the spring of 2002. that was a pretty unique opportunity. At the time, I was certainly one of the youngest attorneys for a municipality the size of Portage when that started, and I really feel like I have grown with and into that role, and the variety of things that are entailed in both the in-court legal work on behalf of the city and the administrative functions that go along with that have certainly been very educational and are benefits that I would bring to the bench. I think the other significant area of my practice, as I said, is the guardian ad litem work that I do, and that has added a measure of obviousness maybe that didn't possess before about how much empathy is required in the operation of the law on a day-to-day basis. There are all kinds of people who are unable to represent themselves in some form or fashion who are entitled to good representation, and I feel like I've learned a lot in fulfilling those responsibilities as well. Obviously, as a city attorney, I've prosecuted a bunch of traffic cases, whether those were trials to the court or jury trials. I feel like I've got more than enough experience to prepare me to do this job.
Start with you, Mr. Boyd. Could you describe what seems like maybe a basic question, but describe what the role of the judge is in the legal process. Describe when you walk in the courtroom or in your role outside of the courtroom, what purpose the judge serves and how how a good judge can help the legal process.
Well, the short answer is the judge's job is to apply the facts of any particular case to the law and make a decision. That's a lot easier said than done, and it is and can be very nuanced depending on the circumstance, whether it's a criminal case, a family case, a small claims matter. The rules are frequently a little bit different, and very often the situation is very dependent on the facts that are before the court. Ultimately, it's the judge's responsibility to make sure that the system operates in a fashion that's fair to everyone, that everyone has an opportunity to be heard if that's what they desire. Everyone has an opportunity to enter into reasonable negotiation or attempt to resolve a matter. But if they're not able to do that, it falls to the trial court, the circuit court judge, to make a decision after the facts have been presented. And really that role is somewhat different in the case of a jury trial. Obviously there, the court's role is more to be arbiter of the rules, where the jury is going to be the fact finder. But most often the judge's role is really to make sure that everyone has a fair shake, and that the rules or the facts are applied to the law so that a decision can be reached.
Mr. Henry?
Yeah, I agree. The circuit court is the court of original jurisdiction for criminal traffic and civil cases in our society. Most frequently, people coming into circuit court are going to be represented by legal counsel, so I think the judge's decision or the judge's role is to make sure that the process is followed properly, that the cases are moved along at an appropriate pace, a pace that gives people a relatively prompt resolution of their case, but not a pace that so quickly advances so quickly that people don't get a fair opportunity to present their case. So I think part of their role is to be an arbiter, is to make sure that everyone's rights and their opportunities to be heard are protected. I think also the judge plays a bit of a role in administering the court in terms of keeping the cases moving, not allowing people to use dilatory tactics to simply drag things out to avoid the decision making. And in the end, if it's a court that's going to, or a case that's going to required decision by the judge. The judge has to consider all the factors, apply the law to the facts of this particular case, and come up with a conclusion. And as Mr. Voigt said, many cases in the circuit court level are fact sensitive in that the law may be clear in terms of principle, but you have to apply those to a certain set of facts which may not be convenient. There may be other cases where the facts are pretty clear, but the law isn't convenient. And in either of those cases, the judge is going to have to make a decision, because generally cases don't get to the judge if the attorneys all agree on how it should come out. And the only cases that we actually get are the cases where there's disagreement. And you know, when you have two good lawyers and neither of them see the law the same or neither of them see the facts the same, you know that's going to be a difficult decision to make. And so I think that's what we call on judges to do.